Walmart, and Home Depot now warning the president.
They are now formally warning about the coming Trump slump.
Business leaders are now worried about higher prices.
Elon Musk's empire suffering a major blow. There will be no unilateral reduction in tariffs.
All right, please tell me if this makes any sense to you. Trump's talking tough, saying tariffs are saving the American economy. Meanwhile, CEOs from Walmart, Target, Home Depot are quietly warning him, hey, shelves might go empty and prices could literally explode.
The CEOs of Target, Walmart, and Home Depot now warning the president product shortages could happen if tariffs continue. Business leaders met with Trump earlier this week, telling him his tariffs could lead to inflation and force them to raise prices.
And the wild part? Please brace yourself. He's actually listening to them. But because of his larger-than-life ego, he's pretending that he's not.
They took our companies out of America and they built their plants in China. And one of those things, so now we're reversing it.
This is messy, but we're about to break it all down in plain English. Okay, so Trump's back with a familiar strategy: tariffs on Chinese imports. America first, round two.
Caroline, let's see if we can break a little news here. What's the timetable for the reduction in the tariffs against China? The president was ambiguous about it. Scott Besson seemed to suggest it wouldn't happen until negotiations are at least underway.
Let me be clear, there will be no unilateral reduction in tariffs against China. The president has made it clear China needs to make a deal with the United States of America, and we are optimistic that will happen. And when that continues, it will be up to the president what the tariff rate on China will be, but we certainly need to see a reduction in tariffs and non-monetary tariff barriers from China as well. And we also need to continue seeing these companies abroad return their manufacturing to the United States of America so we can shore up these critical supply chains.
Okay. So while it's easy to think that it's in the States and it doesn't affect me, let me break the bad news to you. Whatever hits or happens in the US economy almost always hits us in Canada as well. It's like being next door to someone whose house is on fire. Your house is not on fire, but you'll still suffer from the smoke and mess. So today, we're going to look at what Trump's actually doing, how big businesses are reacting behind the scenes, and why your next grocery run or Amazon order might cost you more than you think. Trump's team is selling this move like it's a power play. No more getting ripped off by China. Finally, we're fighting back. It's got that old school tough guy energy.
All right, Caroline, we're watching markets. They seem to be so sensitive to everything that comes out of the White House right now. Whether or not, the Federal Reserve Chair will keep his job, whether or not the president's softening his stance on tariffs. Most recently, saying that, talking about the Chinese imports, they're very high. The tariffs on imports very high, and it won't be that high. Won't be anywhere near that high, said the president. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. Is it fair to say, Caroline, that the president's stance on tariffs with China is softening?
I don't think that's fair to say. In fact, I spoke to the president about it this morning. He is not going to give up on ensuring that there are fair trade practices around the world. He is not giving up on the fact that China has been ripping off the United States of America for far too long.
But when reporters asked what the actual results of these tariffs were, the White House answer was basically, be patient, you'll see. Cool story, but we are still waiting.
Has that leverage actually worked because China hasn't made any concessions at all?
Have some patience and you will see.
Because here's the fact. The US hit China with a wave of tariffs back in 2018. And no one talks much about this, but the average American household ended up paying an extra $1,300 a year. That's just from price increases tied to tariffs. This is no political spin. It's just straight up economics and math. And we felt it too up here in Canada. The reason is because many of the products imported into the US are then shipped here through shared distributors. You can think of it like secondhand inflation. So now retail giants like Walmart, Home Depot, and Amazon, Target as well, is raising the alarm. They met with Trump privately and basically said this, hey, this isn't just like a theory. The tariffs are going to mess with our supply chains.
Business leaders are now worried about higher prices for consumers ahead of the holiday shopping season later this year. PepsiCo says it's bracing for high uncertainty for the rest of the year.
The translation is basically fewer products, higher prices, and potential shortages. Okay, look, when Walmart, the king of squeezing every penny out of the supply chain, starts sweating, you know things are serious. They don't blink unless it's threatening billions.
America's largest companies track all of this because it's their whole business and expertise. This is what they do, so they're all over it. And they are now formally warning about the coming Trump slump any way they can. And the Walmart chief just joined an attempted Trump tariff intervention. The tariff and trade policy will not only disrupt supply chains and raise prices, it will lead to empty shelves.
Let's put this in perspective. Walmart sources roughly 70% of its merchandise directly or indirectly from China. If those costs go up, even by a few percentages, guess who pays for it? Spoiler alert, it's us, everyday people and consumers. Now, here's where it gets super interesting. Publicly, Trump's standing tall. We're not backing down. But privately, it's certainly a different tune. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, recently said the US-China relationship is unsustainable and hinted they're open to de-escalating.
China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world. China needs to change.
And then Trump, in classic Trump fashion, casually said that tariffs could be lowered if China plays nice. Okay, so wait, are they being tough or are they negotiating behind the scenes? Apparently, it's both. Depends on which camera's rolling. And that, my friend, is how you try to bluff an entire economy. Here's another fun twist. The White House wouldn't say if they were even talking to China. But then, oopsie, Trump let it slip in an interview. Talks are happening every day is what he said. So there it is. Quiet negotiations behind all the loud headlines. And while they're bragging about meeting with over 100 countries, let's be real. The only one that matters in this story is China. The rest are all just side notes.
And President Trump has brought hundreds of countries now from around the world to the negotiating table. We have 18 proposals on paper from nations around the world who recognize that they have, in fact, been ripping off the United States. And there's a president in the Oval Office right now who is no longer going to tolerate it. So this is the art of the deal. President Trump is using the leverage of the United States to bring nations to the negotiating table. That includes China, who he remains very optimistic there will be a fair trade deal with China that finally puts American workers and American industry first.
Okay guys, if you're watching, you're clearly into this kind of breakdown. So please do me a quick favor, hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It just tells the algorithm this is the content that is worth watching. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Okay, so now back to the chaos. Let's add a little Musk to the madness. Elon jumps on a Tesla earnings call and casually drops that he's stepping back from his government advisory role.
Elon Musk's empire suffering a major blow tonight with profits plunging more than 70%.
Why, you might ask? Too much political blowback. Trump responds like they're old golf buddies. Elon's a tremendous guy, and investors just ate it up. Tesla's stock went up quite substantially on the news. Because in 2025, the market isn't just about fundamentals, it's about vibes. And now, the lawsuits. 12 states are suing the Trump administration over these tariffs, calling them unconstitutional. The argument is that Trump used emergency powers that, well, didn't actually have an emergency behind them. And that's the big deal, because if the courts agree, it could blow up the whole strategy. And if tariffs stay in place, we're looking at potentially higher inflation, lost jobs, and again, price hikes that don't stop at the US border. Here's a simple reminder. The average Canadian household spends about $1,200 a year on groceries. Even a 5% jump driven by cross-border supply issues means hundreds of dollars out of pocket for the average household. Well, we all know markets are watching the circus like it's a suspense film. When Bassett hinted at cooperation with China, stocks rallied. Then the optimism vanished. Why? Because there's still no concrete deal. Investors are basically gambling on vibes at this point. And here's a wild fact. Over 40% of what Canadians consume is either imported from the US or affected by US trade policies. So when their economy sneezes, we don't just catch a cold, we get the full-blown flu. So here's where we're at. Trump's tariffs are being sold as strength, but they're turning into a logistical nightmare. Big businesses are nervous. Legal challenges are growing. Inflation fears are real, and even Trump's own team is hedging their bets. Meanwhile, we're stuck waiting to see how it all shakes out and hoping it doesn't cost us more for chicken, jeans, or gas. Because like it or not, we're in this together. Same supply chains, same stores, same price shocks. All right, folks, if you found this video helpful or informative, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications. This channel isn't about yelling into the void, it's about making sense of the noise and how it actually affects us, real people like you and I. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.